it's Chris up here from the Card Boys. Just wanted to showcase my winner Purple Luffy deck profile. I was able to go 4-0 was this yesterday at my locals and was able to get the winner Luffy. So just wanted to showcase what I was playing yesterday, a few of the different cards that I'm playing, maybe a bit different to what you've seen on other profiles, as well as just talk about some of the matchups I had. So let's just get straight into it. So for the 2Ks, I'm running 2 X-Drakes, 4 of the double fingers, 4 of the ulti, and then 4 of the Khalifas. Now, with most Purple Luffy decks, you've got to be running anywhere between 12 to 14. 14 seems the typical number, which is what I'm playing here. In terms of which 2Ks you play, it doesn't really matter too much. You may want to play as well the Usopp 2K, this one here, or potentially even the Frankie 2K. The only ones that seem to be kind of universal between Purple Luffy decks are the Double Finger and the ulti. Now, the Double Finger is just fantastic because if you don't have any ramp cards in your hand on your first turn, you can just bring her out, trash a card and ramp, which is fantastic. Also being a trigger as well, you're able to just, get her on the field and get a body on the field, which is what Luffy wants to do. So that's really awesome. And with ulti, obviously with the page 1 combo, that's amazing when you can get it off. It's not something you always want to get off. For example, when you're versing Sakazuki, it can be a bit risky, especially if they have, a Lucci in hand and they have 5 Don. It can be really rough going into that. But, you just have to know your matchup and know when to play it. But when you get it off, it's fantastic. In terms of the other 2Ks, I have Khalifa. I just feel there's times with this deck where you either see like too many 2Ks or too many vanillas or something, or maybe not see certain things like your 9-cost Kaido. So being able to recycle your hand with more or less no Don commitment. I mean, it is -1, but just bringing something else out on the board and, just then attacking with her, because you don't need to actually make contact. You can just swing 4K. Doesn't do anything. You get 2 draws and, discard 1, which is really awesome. So it's very low Don commitment to actually, get 2 cards in your hand, which is really awesome. So I just found that she's been really helpful. I actually used her in a game yesterday against Zoro, so she was really handy. And with X-Drake, it's just my preference. I just think having the option to be able to discard an opponent's hand is really handy. For example, if you're versing, say, a Nell, they have 2 cards in hand, they have 1 life. You could play this so they only have 1 card in hand. That way they can't activate Amaru, which is discard 2 and then gain a life, which, that can be really strong if that happens. But yeah, these are the 2Ks I'm running. I don't think I'll change it up at the moment. I think I'm liking where it is. Next up, we have our blockers. So we have 4 Queen, 4 of the kids, and 3 of the Law. Queen, I think it's just a staple purple blocker at this point. I don't think you could say much about it. 5K body, 6K body, 5 cost, being able to draw, and, it's fantastic. Purple can struggle sometimes with getting hand draw, so being able to do that is fantastic, especially in this deck when you don't have a searcher. This card's just fantastic to have. Kid's okay. I don't love Kid. I feel like if his effect was on your turn or your opponent's turn, it'd be a lot more better. But yeah, there's times when we mostly just use it for 1K counter, because it really sucks when you have to give up a 2K. So I would usually just give up a 1K, and I know I have a bunch of other blockers in deck, so it's not really a big deal. But it's really nice when you have them in the field, and then you can use like 9-cost Kaido effect to just get that 1 Don back, so you can ramp even faster. But a lot of times you're not going to be bringing him out too often unless you don't have ramp or you don't have any other option really. He's usually, quite honestly, my last option if I don't have anything else to do. But he's still good to play. I think he's still fun. He's a 6K body, which is, gets over most things, and you should be able to counter basically everything with it. Whether it be a 2Ks or another 1K, he's just overall, he's okay. I think once a better blocker comes along, he will be replaced, but as of now, he's good. It's also fun to use him on 10 Don, so you bring one of him out, then bring Queen, use effects, and then you can just get that Don back that you lost, which is really awesome, which then you could use for something else, maybe one of your events. But yeah, overall, okay so far. Law I was running at 4. I think 3 is more appropriate, just because if you're versing very skilled players or players that know how to play into purple, they'll know you're running it, and they'll never let you use it. They'll never let you let themselves have 7 cards in hand so you can use that ability, because they would much rather discard a 2k, especially if it's just a 5-star squin. They would much rather just get rid of a 2k than, you know, potentially lose 2 cards from their hand. So I think 3 is more appropriate, just because you're never really going to get it off very often. And as well, you can just play a mind game with your opponent as well. All you have to do is essentially be like, every turn, cards in hand, how many cards in hand, sorry? And they'll just be like, oh, he has law in hand, I cannot go to more than 6 cards in hand, which keeps a low hand sign, which is perfect for you. But yeah, these are the blockers right now. I don't think there's much difference between other Purple Luffy lists that I've seen. I think basically everyone is running 4 of the Queen, 4 of the Kid, and some have been running 4, but again, I've seen some with 3, so these are what you'll be playing more or less. Alrighty, moving on to our main cards. So these are the cards that what you're aiming to get out as quickly as possible and hoping that you have it in opening hand. So we got 4 All Sundays, 4 of the Paulies, and 4 of the Kaidos. Now, a lot of Purple Luffy decks for a long time weren't actually playing Sunday. This is only a really recent addition to the deck. Most people are playing Magellan instead, which fair enough. You know, Magellan is a really good card. You know, it can definitely help out. It's a, you know, just a high value card. But Sunday just works a lot better with the strategy that Luffy's going for. Being able to also draw as well is incredible. You know, that means you now have 3 outlets to draw. So you have 4 technically if you run Khalifa. So you have Luffy, Khalifa, Sunday, and Queen, which is kind of insane how much draw power this deck can actually have. So you basically be able to get out any situation, because you're running so many 2Ks that you can just basically counter out anything you want. And the fact that it also ramps is fantastic. And with the trigger as well, it's even better. Rule of thumb with the trigger is if you have 6 Don or less when you get her off life, you're not going to get the effect. So if you're trying to do the map or whatever, you'll go down to 4 Don, then get 1 back with her ability, so you won't unfortunately get the draw 1, so you'll be at 5. So if you have 7 or more, you will definitely get the draw. But again, it's up to you, you know, if you want to play it. Maybe you're in the final round and you need a body on the field to get through to, you know, do that last hit. So you may just not even care about the draw, which is fine in that situation. It happened to me yesterday actually as well. But yeah, no, fantastic card, and it just feels really much like a missing puzzle piece to Luffy. Not that Magellan can't be played in this deck anymore. I think it's still definitely a playable card, but I just think this card is overall just better. Paulie's absolutely fantastic. I don't think you'll be seeing any deck that's running less than 4. There are so many 4-cost cards in the game, especially in Sakazuki, because, you know, basically besides the 7-cost Bossolino, the 4-cost blocker as well, or potentially the 10-cost Kaido if they're running it, you can pop basically every single card on their field, which is awesome. And yeah, there's so many games, especially going to like something like, say, Yellow. I would love to see him, just because you can just pop their bodies, keep popping, keep ramping, and just, you know, keep swinging them as aggressively as I possibly can. So definitely need a 4 off. And it's really funny that he was once considered one of the worst cards in this game, one of the worst ults as well. But now, you know, I don't think you'll ever see a Purple Luffy list without him, because he's just that great. And then the boss monster. This is 9-cost Kaido. So many games that I've played, and, you know, I've talked to people about who play Purple Luffy, is if you don't see this card, you're probably not going to win the game. It's not impossible not to win without him, but these cards you're building up to do this. If you don't see Kaido, you don't need more than 1. Usually 1's fine. 2 is fantastic, but yeah, it's one of those things where if you don't see it, it's going to be a really rough situation, because what this deck really wants to do, like a perfect thing would be opening hand, you have like, say, Sunday, do that, go to 6, next turn go to get Paulie out, go to 9, next turn get Kaido out, and then next turn, hopefully, if you have either Paulie or Sunday, get that out, and then next turn you can just go for another one, which is like just crazy. If you can pull that off, that's absolutely insane. Doesn't always happen, unfortunately, very rarely, but yeah, no, Kaido is just a card that you need to see constantly. We are getting a searcher card for it in, I believe it's set 7, I think. It's an event that searches out Animal Kingdom cards, so I'm not sure how well it will go into Luffy, but it will definitely make it more consistent, and because you run a lot of Animal Kingdom cards in this deck, and you can swap some out as well. So being able to search that out will be absolutely crazy if you're able to. But yeah, these are the main bodies. So we'll move on now to some of the other cards that I am playing. Now we're also running 4 of the page 1. As I said earlier, just go with the page ulti combo. Really nice when you get it off. You won't always get it off. It's really dependent on the situation. If you're versing Sakazuki, you may not want to do that. Against yellow, you definitely want to. But even if you don't have that ulti in hand to do the combo, it's still really nice to just bring out, especially if you have nothing else in hand, because it's a 6k body, and that's just awesome. And then for events, I'm playing 2 of the Blast Breaths and 2 of the 0 cost events. I was running 3 of the 0 costs and no Blast Breaths, but I just there was a few deck profiles that did run the Blast Breath, and I thought might as well give it a go, and I am actually really loving it. There are a lot of situations where you will have like a Don left over, and you maybe want to put on Luffy or one of your bodies, swing for 6 or 7. Or potentially, if you use Luffy ability, you can get a ramp Don back and then you have 1 up. So it actually does feel really nice in the deck, and I don't think I would take it out now. I don't think you need to put it to free. You run so many 2Ks that you don't really need to do that. And again, it's dead counter, so you don't really want to use it unless you really have to. Because again, it's technically 2 Don because you have to -1 as well. But still, fantastic card. And 0 cost as well. You're running a lot of like dead cards, or sometimes you won't have enough counter. There are times where you don't see any 2Ks. I've had the game where I saw 1 2K the whole game. So having the 0 cost event get you to 8 is pretty good. As well, it has the trigger effect of being able to ramp your Don, which is sometimes can come in very clutch, especially if you're trying to ramp back to Kaido. But yeah, these are the events I'm running and just the random vanillas. But yeah, let's move on. So these now are, I guess you could say, my spice cards. These are the cards that I haven't really seen any deck profiles really run. Why not? I don't really know. It could just be my personal choice. But we'll go over one of them, the first one. Now, with most purple Luffy decks, you are going to be seeing usually 2 to 3 cards that are different. These are the things that kind of define that player. Now, sometimes they'll be playing something like Top Knot. They might play the 7k vanilla, the 9 cost vanilla, so 7 cost vanilla. Or they may play something like Sheephorn. They may also be running something like the 7 cost Kid as well, and I've tried all of these, I've tried all of them, but I just never really felt that they were really useful too much, or at least they never came around when I needed them. This card's really good against, say, Borsalino, but the fact is you have to -2 Don, and that's just kind of rough a little bit. This guy here, he's great stat line, but the reason I don't run him or the 7 cost Kid is just because he gets removed so easily by Sucker. I think you're going to have to go into, at least for the next month until the next set, is that you're going to be versing Sakazuki. So you're going to have to think, how can I get around Sakazuki? And bringing this guy out is great if you're not versing Sakazuki, but if you are, they can get rid of it super easily. All they need to do is have 1 Ice Age, and then get down to 2, and they can get rid of it. Then they can Houndblaze it. So all you're really doing is just wasting 7 Don. It's good. This one's slightly better than Kid because, you have the 1k counter, but overall, I just don't think it's really great. Sheepthorn is good as well, but it comes in clutch, and when you're trying to play competitively, you don't really want to have a random chance of getting that card you need. And as well, there's very situations where you don't really need it all the time. It's usually just when you want to go for game, and the fact that it has no counter as well, which is kind of rough. That you have to minus the Don, it's a 2 cost, and it's just to me personally, I just did not particularly like it. So in replacement to that, I decided to instead play Douglas Bullet. Now, if you're asking, who's Douglas Bullet? Don't blame you. No one has probably played this, if ever. Douglas Bullet is a 5 cost 6k body with a 1k counter. His effect is, on play, -1, rest one of your opponent's 4 cost characters. This guy is really good into Sako because you can basically rest everything except obviously Sabo. But with Luffy, I found there are so many games I'll play where it'll come down to, can I get my Paulie, can I get my Kaido, can I pop his blocker to go for game? But if he has a Borsalino on field, there's not much I can really do about it. So I felt this guy was amazing because, you know, you play him, you can rest it, and then you just swing for game. Now, you may be wondering, okay, well, why play this guy? If you want to be able to do that, why not just play Sheep's Horn instead? It means it's only at 2 costs. And the main reason is counter. As I said before, was the kid, there are times when it really sucks to use a 2k to get out of a 5k swing. And like with Sheep's Horn, I was saying, it's very situational. You don't always need it. And, you know, depending on the matchup you're playing, you may not need, you know, bullets. So being able to have the option to counter with it as well is just really powerful. So this actually won me a game, actually. I was at the championships. It was basically the last round. You know, whoever, if I can get out of it, I won. If they could get through it, they would win next turn. I had a Kaido on field. They had a Borsalino, 2 cards in hand, 1 card in life. I had no cards in hand. I top decked this, and I'm able to go for game after that. And, like, this guy, I think, is underplayed. I've seen a few Purple Luffy players on the sim play it, but I'm really surprised it's not more widely used, just because even just the counter alone is fantastic. And he's a less body than the sumo guy. So I just think he's a really fantastic card to play, and I'm hoping maybe after this video people play him more, but I guess we have to wait and see. Now, something you may have noticed while watching this video is that I'm not running any of the, besides page 1, I'm not running any of the 4 cost vanillas. So typically people will play 3 to 4 copies of, like, say, Sphinx or Scratch Man of Pooh. And I was playing the Sphinx for a little bit at free, but I decided instead to swap it out to something else. And this is another card you've probably has seen but never seen anyone play, and that is the Kamazu. So I run 3 of this one. Now, this card's effect is on KO, -1 Don, KO up to one of your opponent's 5 cost or less characters. Now, I'm hoping you can see the potential in this. So basically, you know, if they attack into it, I can just instantly KO what probably attacked it. Especially early game, it's really cool to bring out. Now, you're probably thinking as well, you know, Christoph, that's just going to be a Sakazuki target. It's going to be really easy to get rid of. It's only a 4k body. Why not run, you know, a 6k stat line? But that's exactly why I don't run it, because of Sakazuki. Because you have to be thinking about interactions that you want to have with Sakazuki. You know, yes, there's no difference between these 2 cards. You know, Sakazuki looks at cost, not attack. But if I, you know, brought a Sphinx out, they have the option of, you know, maybe Hound Blazing it or Rob Lucci it. But with this guy, they have no choice but to Hound Blaze it. Because obviously if they bring out Rob Lucci, I'm just going to KO the Rob Lucci. Like an eye for an eye, you know what I mean? So forcing Sakazuki players to having to use the Hound Blaze. Plus, it's really good as well to see if they have a Hound Blaze, because if they don't Hound Blaze it, then maybe they don't have a Hound Blaze in hand, which is really good for you, because then you can start swinging with this card. As well, with Sakazuki, they're not going to be running much things higher than, say, like the 7 cost Borsalino or the 10 cost Kaido. So this card can target basically everything on their field if they attack into it, or if they don't have a Hound Blaze or something to bottom deck it. So yeah, fantastic card. And again, if you don't bring it out, you can just use this counter. It's the same thing as Sphinx. Like, I think a lot of Purple Luffy players will agree that if they don't bring Sphinx out for the first or second turn, they're just using it as counter after that. And you know, it's the same thing with this, and the same thing done with Bullet. But yeah, no, that's my deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys. In terms of the matchups that I had yesterday, I had 1 Zoro, which was a very close game. I got very lucky. He misplayed a card, and it just gave me the opportunity to be able to come back. And I honestly thought I was going to die that turn. He brought out a Brook. And we were talking afterwards, and he just wasn't sure if I had enough counter in hand to get out, so he was trying to play it safe, but I actually had no counter, so he would have won that round. Second game, I had a Purple Luffy mirror. I was able to get a Robin off life, and just, yeah, I was able to just basically overpower his hand, because he was countering very early on, so I was able to just utilize that while going for game in the last few rounds, because he just had nothing to get out of it, unfortunately. Third match was against a Katakuri player. That was a really good game. It was very close. It really just came down to if he had a trigger of life. He was a very good actor, so he seemed like he did have a trigger, but he didn't, unfortunately for him, but my victory. And then my final matchup was against a green Uta, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of, it was a very casual game between us. You know, we were kind of like still, he was still like learning green Uta, so yeah, it was just a really interesting game to have a play with. But yeah, no, it was a really fun night overall, and really good games. But thanks guys for watching, and check out, we've got some deck profiles coming up, and we also got some more games to play coming up. So subscribe to the Card Boys Geelong YouTube channel, and also check out our Facebook page. But it's been Christoph from the Card Boys, and I'll catch you later.